Hello everyone, welcome back to SteamCode and welcome to another episode of our Selenium and Python tutorial series. In this video, I'll be showing you how to do some basic web scraping with Selenium. And so what web scraping is it's the process of automatically collecting data from websites without having to manually track and manually write down exactly what you need. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be pulling data from a Wikipedia article. And in particular, we'll be using the chess boxing Wikipedia article. So I already have it open here. Let's just take a look at it real quick. And you can see it has various different little sections here. And at the bottom, we have a table. And what we're concerned about in this tutorial is pulling the names of each tournament from this table. So hopping back into our code, I already have all the code written out, and I'll go through it line by line and show you exactly what we're doing here and showing you exactly how this accomplishes our purpose. So at the top, we're importing the same imports that we've made previously in these tutorials, webdriver, buying keys. We're also importing action chains, and since we're not using action chains in this video, don't worry about them. I just decided to import them for future iterations of our tutorial series. And then we're creating our webdriver object. So remember, the WebDriver is what communicates with your browser. So since I'm using the Firefox browser, we're using the Firefox WebDriver. And then we're going to the web page that we want to scrape from. So we're using the driver.get method to do this. And I just pasted the URL of that web page. And now we get to the meat of the code, which is the scrape function. And so here I'm calling scrape at the very bottom. And this is where we're actually doing the main web scraping. So first we're finding the table, the entire table that all of this data belongs to. And this has the class name of WikiTable. So hopping back to the website, let's just inspect element. And let's just take a look at that. So here we have the entire table. And as you can see, the class is WikiTable. So that's exactly what we're doing here. We're getting that element. And I decided to print the text of that table just to see that we're pulling exactly what we want to pull. And then what we're doing is we're finding all of the rows of that table. And so instead of saying driver.find element as we did for finding the table, when we're looking for the rows, we're doing table.find elements. And as you can see, this is find elements with an S instead of find element because there are multiple elements with the tag name of tr. And the reason why we're using table instead of driver is because say there are other rows inside of this web page that use the tr tag, we only want to pull the rows that belong to that table, not rows that belong further up or further down on the page or wherever, because those are irrelevant to us in this context. Now, once we have those rows, we're going to iterate through each of those rows. And the way we're doing that is we're just saying for row in rows, and then defining all of the columns that belong to that row. Now let's just hop straight back to that website real quick. And as you can see, we have each of our tr tags, and each of these dignifies a row. And then within each of these rows, we have a td tag. So except for the header, as you can see, the header has th, and we don't care about the header data. We only care about the tournaments, so we're only looking at the td tags. And once we start iterating through these TD tags, we have the columns element. It's getting all of those tags, and then we start iterating through each of them. So what we want is we want the element that's in the second position. So let's just hop back to the website. In the first position, we have the number. In the second position, we have the name. So we want each of those columns that are in these, or each of those elements that's in the second column. So when we're going through each of these rows, we just want the element that's in the second position. So the way we're accomplishing that is we create a new variable called num. And for each of those elements within that row, what we're doing is we are incrementing our number. And when that number is equal to 2, we're just going to print the text of that column. And when you're actually doing web scraping outside of a tutorial setting, you might want to send these to a file, and you might want to save them locally. But for this tutorial, all we're doing is printing that text. And so once it reaches up to 6, because there are 5 elements in this column, up to fights, once it reaches 6, it just goes straight back to 1, and we restart that process for each new row. So that's basically how this code runs. Let's test it and let's see how it works. So hop into your command prompt, go to the directory where this file is saved, and if you use a virtual environment for this, make sure you activate it before trying to run this file, and then say Python, and then whatever the name of your file is. So mine is scrapetut.py, and let's run it. Alright, now that the web page is open, let's hop back into our command prompt and see if it printed out what it needed to. So scroll all the way back down to this table, and let's go into our command prompt. As you can see, it started printing out each of these names, starting with CBN, then CBP, then Mogul Chess Boxing Championship. All the way at the bottom, it is the CBP Chess Boxing Fights in Paris. Alright, so as you can see here, this is how you get started with web scraping. There are also many more features that Selenium offers as a part of its web scraping suite, and I'll show you those in future tutorials. But I hope this gave you an introduction into how to enter into the world of web scraping, how to get data from websites automatically. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Have any questions, feel free to comment in the comment section down below. This has been SteamCode, and I'll see you in the next one.